The breaking news is out of Thailand. 3 boys have been rescued from that flooded cave in just the last 2 hours. One of those boys is at the hospital already.
At this hour, here's what we know. Rescuers frantically trying, of course, to save those remaining 5 boys in the cave, as well as their soccer coach. They have now been underground for 17 days. We know the oxygen levels are falling, the water levels threatening to rise. We begin our breaking news coverage with CNN's Ivan Watson, who is live in northern Thailand. Ivan.
Good morning, Erica and John. Here, the sun is setting over Mae Sai in northern Thailand. And the mountain behind me where this remarkable rescue operation is underway in the deep cave system where these boys have been trapped. According to Thai authorities, this has been underway for about 8 hours, but probably in the last 3 to 4 hours now. According to a member of the rescue team at the mouth of the cave, we've now seen 3 boys come out from depths of about 2.5 miles, around 4 kilometers, brought out today. 3 rescues today. This comes on top of 4 boys who were brought out Sunday evening out of a total of 12 boys and their 25-year-old coach. So there are still people trapped inside to the best of our knowledge, but this has been a day of rescues. One of those boys has already been medevaced to the hospital in Chiang Rai, the provincial capital, which is about an hour's drive away, flown by military helicopter. The latest we've gotten on the 2 more recent rescues is that the boys are in field hospital near the mouth of the cave. I can't stress enough how difficult the rescue operation is, and deadly, because last week a Thai former Navy SEAL diver actually died trying to ferry provision supplies on the perilous, narrow, and flooded tunnel to and from where the boys have been trapped now for more than 2 weeks. That's part of why this rescue effort is so difficult and why, frankly, the rescuers are such heroes. We've heard that the boys have been outfitted with full open-air face masks, since none of them are trained for this kind of delicate, dangerous work. But again, out of the 13 people who had initially been trapped, we're hearing of 7 rescues between Sunday and Monday. I'm going to turn it back to you guys and my colleague Matt Rivers, who's waiting at the hospital.
All right, Ivan, please keep us posted what you hear from the mouth of that cave. Appreciate it. As Ivan was saying, the 3 boys rescued so far this morning on their way to get medical treatment at a hospital near that cave. That's along with the 4 children who were rescued yesterday. Our Matt Rivers live for us at the hospital. Matt, give us the very latest.
Yeah, John, what we're expecting this hour, it will likely be, if all things go well at that field hospital I was just talking about, is kind of a repeat of what we saw during the 6 a.m. hour, where the boys are initially treated near the cave. They are put in a helicopter. They are flown to an airport, an old airport just south of our location here, and then they're put in an ambulance where they drive right along this road behind me, heading into that hospital just over my shoulder there, going into the emergency room and receiving treatment. We have seen that scene play out 5 times already, and we expect to see it play out a 6th and a 7th time relatively soon. Once inside that hospital, we are getting more details in terms of how they are treated. They are immediately brought to the 8th floor, where a section of the 8th floor has been turned into a sterilized isolation unit that has been set up specifically for these people trapped in this cave. There is a concern that their immune systems have weakened. They would be more susceptible to illness. And there's also a concern that they could infect others based on what kind of illnesses they could have picked up while in the cave. So out of an abundance of caution, the boys are being kept in isolation for 1 to 2 days. And that also means that if their parents come to this hospital, they won't be able to give their kids a hug. They'll have to stay 2 meters away from them at all times.
All right, Matt Rivers, stand by because we have more breaking news. We understand that an 8th child, the 4th today, has been pulled from that cave. Our Ivan Watson near the scene. Ivan, what are you learning?
That's right. We've just heard from a member of the rescue operation who's at the mouth of the cave, who says he's now seen an 8th boy emerge from the cave in the hands of rescuers. So just a remarkable number of hours where, you know, one after another, they've brought people who were trapped for more than 2 weeks out from deep beneath the mountain behind me, from the network of tunnels, and brought them out into the waning minutes of this Monday here in northern Thailand. We have seen in the past half hour an ambulance go past. We've seen a helicopter fly overhead in the last hour or two, and we assume that some of these movements are for moving some of the boys around to getting them to medical attention. The 8th boy that was brought out was taken promptly to a field hospital up at what you could describe as the base camp at the mouth of the cave complex to be looked over by medical health professionals before he would be medevaced further. But again, 8 people now emerging from the cave between Sunday and Monday. That brings it to 4 more still believed to be inside, 4 more boys, as well as a 13th member of the group, which was a 25-year-old soccer coach. And of course, we'll bring you the latest if and when we hear more. John and Erica.
Ivan, I want to ask you really quickly. We know the families have said they will stay together there at the cave area, at the staging area. As far as we understand, they do not yet know the identities of the 8 children who've been pulled out. Are they at a point, Ivan, if you know, where they can actually see these kids being brought out?
You know, the press, and it is a massive contingent of international media journalists who have gathered here for this, incredible vigil, were moved down from the base camp at the entrance of the cave within the last 36, 48 hours. So we don't have eyes on, and not hard to blame the authorities because they have delicate, hard work to do. So we can't see what access the families have at the mouth of the cave. But clearly there's been an effort to, perhaps in solidarity, for the families to kind of hold and be patient. It has gone on for more than 2 weeks, and to be patient a bit further, and they've said they will not leave until everybody has been saved. And we've been in contact with a lot of the families between yesterday and today who said they did not know if theirs were among the lucky ones who had emerged. And I spoke with a relative of the adult soccer coach who's in there, and she said she didn't know and probably wouldn't know until everybody had emerged safely. So this is being very carefully managed by the Thai authorities. The information that's being given out is being kind of carefully distributed out in press conferences, and the management of the information flow extends to families as well, it seems.
And to your point, understandable. Ivan, appreciate it. We'll continue to check in with you, obviously, throughout the morning. Also with us now, former Navy SEAL John McGuire, CNN Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Sanjay Gupta. John, I want to start with you. We look at this, and it is 4 boys brought out yesterday. And now we're learning about 4 more in a very short period of time this morning. It would seem as if things were picking up rapidly. I mean, can we say that's a good sign, or is it too early?
Well, good morning, John and Erica. Thanks for having me. Yeah, before I answer that, I want to say I think I speak for the world when our hearts go out to the Sergeant Coonan who gave his life to rescue these people. I mean, rest in peace, Frogman. Yeah, it's a good sign. I think that we have Great Britain, the United States, Thai, Navy, and several others. These guys are the best in the world, and they're working very hard. So it's looking good. It's not over yet.
Yeah, optimistic signs here, but I do not think anyone will breathe a sigh of relief until the remaining 5 people, the 4 children and the coach trapped inside, are removed. And Sanjay, again, we don't know if they're done for the day. Yesterday there were 4 out. Today there are 4 more. Maybe they got past that barrier. They needed to get extra oxygen in. Maybe they figured out a way to get more oxygen in and they can try to finish the efforts today. But saying they don't, saying they're up against the same limitations, I have to imagine the trauma of being one of the 4 kids and coach left under for another day. That's just got to be grueling.
There's no doubt. I mean, obviously, you go back now to just put a timeline on this back to June 23rd. So we're talking about this real time, but June 23rd is when they went missing. July 2nd was when they were first found alive, and now, the days have been ticking by. It's countermanded, though, John, the sort of grueling nature of staying there longer with the fact that maybe they're getting this information that their predecessors have successfully been rescued. So that certainly could lift their spirits. And more pragmatically speaking, I mean, this is an extraordinary rescue. I mean, each time they do it, they're probably learning a couple more things. The conditions may change a bit, so all those lessons could be of benefit to the remaining boys and the coach in the cave.
And no question. Again, we've also seen the pictures coming out of northern Thailand. It's not raining. They've been lucky one more
Very
day on the
fortunate,
weather.
yeah.
The last several days, they've had enormous luck. These monsoon rains seem to have held off. John McGuire, to Sanjay's point, as they continue these rescues, you do have to imagine they're learning. Do you think perhaps they did figure out a way to get beyond that barrier, get more oxygen tanks down in those caves so that they can get the 5 other people out now and not have to wait another day?
You know, in perfect weather conditions, this would be a very difficult rescue. The fact that we have the rains coming in, you're right, time is an issue. And you're right, they adapt, they improvise, they learn. But these guys are, you know, obviously as Navy SEALs, we're combat divers. These master divers, these dive experts from around the world that have come together, this is what they practice. So they're learning, they're getting better. But I'll tell you, 2 things we haven't mentioned too much is trying to teach young people how to scuba dive. There's something called a gas embolism, where you can send a bubble of gas to the brain and it causes an embolism. Or if you can imagine, as pressure increases, volume increases, you could pop a lung. So you've got to be relaxed. And the current, I mean, we heard about the Navy SEAL, Thai SEAL that died. I don't know what the conditions are, none of us do, but water is a very powerful thing. And so fighting that current and having that rope and having that team to help those young guys, it's a big effort.
I should point out, we're just learning, CNN has just confirmed that operations have now finished for the night, sunsetting there in Thailand, to answer one of your questions earlier, John, about when they could go back out. And John, I just want to throw this to you as well. We're looking at what is an 11-hour, in best case from what we know, an 11-hour round trip for these divers as they make their way in and then have to get back out. How much downtime would they need before they could go back in? What's safe?
This is a question for me.
For you, sorry, yeah, John McGuire, to you.
I could tell what John said. Yeah, so what downtime? The thing is, again, none of us know the situation on the ground, and I don't know if they have, substitute divers, but I mean, obviously you want to be clear in your thought process. So I would hope that they could rotate divers on a schedule. And also, is it water all the way, or do they have pockets taking a break? You know, we don't know the situation on the ground, but these guys know what they're doing.
We do know that it isn't a swim. It isn't a 4-kilometer swim. There are areas where they can walk and get air. We also do seem to know what the limitations are. That 4 seems to be the limit. 4 yesterday, 4 today. They suspended operations. It might be because they have to get the oxygen tanks down there, Sanjay. So we do know there are 4 children and the coach still inside that cave. How would you treat them medically? What's the right way to deal with them, not just psychologically, but also medically, to make them feel as if this is going to be okay?
There is a doctor, my understanding, they're getting a medical checkup before actually beginning the rescue part, actually beginning the arduous journey that you just described, the 4-kilometer one. In this sort of situation, the basics do apply. You want to make sure that, and this is unusual, again, as John was talking about, because of the full mask and the scuba diving. Some of these kids haven't swam before. Anxiety is not just a concern long term here. It's a real concern in the short term, because if someone becomes anxious, starts to have panic attack or something, that could put their life in danger. It could put the rescue divers' lives in danger as well as they try and rescue that person. So that's going to be a big part of it. Obviously, making sure physiologically that they have enough hydration, they have enough strength, that they can deal with any potential hypothermia, all of that as part of the rescue mission. That's what you have to do at the beginning, at the end. There's another triage as they exit the cave to basically determine how quickly now do they need to get them to the hospital. All of that applies. But the doctors and nurses at that point have been preparing for this, really understanding most likely the shape that these kids are going to be in, but also ready for any surprises.